So Scott Talley here, coming to you from the worldwide headquarters of Network in Action. We are really fortunate today to have a great topic and a great guy, Maury Hammond with Freedom Home Services. I was excited when I saw you were coming to talk. I know this isn't a laughing matter, but in my marriage with my wife, I'm constantly calling her a hoarder, and she constantly replies that she's a collector.
Right.
But either way, it's an issue in our marriage because I'm a minimalist. I want everything clean and straight. But really, like I said when I started, this isn't a laughing matter. I mean, you help people in pretty dire situations, people who have hoarders in their lives. How in the heck did you get started with that?
Well, I had a maid service going for a couple of years, and we were kind of rocking along, just doing the standard, daily, weekly, bi-weekly service. And at that time, a few years back, I would go out and personally visit with the prospective customer and just kind of get a lay of the land and then give them the quote. We'd get them started on service and move forward. Well, we get a call from a sweet little old lady who asked us to come out for a maid service quote. And a friend of mine was in town at the time, and so he went with me. And we show up, and this lady answers the door, and right behind her, we can see something straight out of that Hoarders TV show, I guess, on A&E or what have you. Yeah. But just things stacked to the ceilings. And as we walked through, it just dawned on me more and more.
Your friend must have been freaking out.
We were both freaking out.
This is what you do for a living?
There's just literally, just like the show you see, just very small little tiny walkways for her to get around. But she couldn't use the house the way it was intended. She couldn't use her kitchen. She slept in a little recliner. Her bed was full of clothes and boxes and what have you. So yeah, we just kind of jumped in with both feet. I did a little bit of research and spent about 10 days, and 99 contractor-sized bags later of trash. We kind of had her fixed up and back and fully functioning home, safer, healthier. We'd cleaned and sanitized everything when we were all done, and so and she was so appreciative. She was so happy, and just went on and on and on. How we kind of had given her life back to her. She'd recently lost her husband, and so just that feeling reward that came from that was better than a lot of the things I've done in my life. Yeah. So. It was inspiring.
So you transitioned the maid service into this service.
We did.
And you still do the maid service now? Or?
No, not the recurring stuff.
Okay.
We really just focus on the hoarding remediation, and then we've since grown into more of a general contracting type of company. Yeah. And so we do roofing, remodeling, and the hoarding remediation services.
Wow. So in these situations, I mean, like I said, my wife and I constantly are discussing what's the level of status she's at, but like, what is the difference in a person who really has a hard time letting go of things and a real hoarder?
Well, first off, hoarding is an actual mental health issue. It's I don't pretend to be a therapist. I don't pretend to be a psychologist or anything. But the research I've done is it's listed in the DSM, the big Bible for psychiatric issues, as a disorder. And so those people are the ones that you typically see are have a real hard time, very resistant to having any kind of help. And so the family members are arguing with them, friends are arguing with them, and they're just steadfast, not wanting to let go of things, because a lot of their identity gets wrapped up in these possessions. They may have issues with loneliness or what have you, and they've just got so much invested in this stuff. It's almost a part of them. And so that's why it makes it so tough. And that's what kind of separates them from then your sort of average, ordinary person who may have just too much stuff in their house, too much stuff in their garage. And I say that we help a lot of people with hoarding situations, but I think in terms of the actual definition of the term, I don't think a very high percentage of them are actually, having that mental health issue. I think life has just kind of gotten ahead of them. They've had some kind of a health issue that slowed them down, or a family issue that slowed them down, what have you. And as we all know, in our modern society, we're sort of taught from day one to just accumulate, buy, that sort of thing. So I think a lot of times people just get overwhelmed, and then they just don't know where to start.
Right. How big a problem is this?
Well, the last time I did the research, approximately 5 to 8% of the U.S. population is dealing with hoarding on some level. So if if you're talking 300 million population, and you're looking at, let's round up to make it easier, 10%. So that would be 30 million. And then I've kind of done a little bit of narrowing down, and so for the population in Houston, it could be somewhere around 200 to 300,000 people that are dealing with hoarding on some level.
Yeah, and besides obviously the lack of comfort one has that you would expect at a home, it's really a safety issue, isn't it? I mean, it can be really pretty dangerous.
It truly is. There was a very sad story, not to bring anybody down, but just
hey, it's what we do.
Just really quick, long story short, there was this very nice lady that actually lived in this part of town, very nice part of town, huge condo, but she was quite elderly, and her daughter, who actually lived in Georgia, had come in and then found me, called me in for an assessment. So I go in, and it's a 6,000 square foot, just beautiful space,
wow.
But there is stuff everywhere, and the worst was on the stairs. Books, papers, old mail, and here's an 86-year-old woman going up and down the stairs with all this stuff. And that was kind of the first thing I pointed at. I said that we just, God forbid anything happened and you slipped and
or
fell.
Need to get down the stairs quickly and fire or anything like that.
Well, the terrible thing that happened was, I gave the daughter my quote, didn't hear back for quite a while, which happens. But a few months down the road, I get a call from her, and it's to get an estimate for cleaning out the home. Her mom had passed away. She had slipped and fell.
Wow.
And nobody had checked on her, and so she passed away.
Wow, alone, the worst kind.
Alone.
Yeah. Wow. So it must be interesting when a family member calls you in. You've got to be dealing with some kind of crazy dynamic where the person who owns the home obviously doesn't want to really do anything deep down.
Right.
So how does that get handled?
Well, I like to say it's me. I have just such a calming demeanor. Just a pleasant approach, and I can usually make people feel pretty comfortable. Especially if it's somebody who's elderly, who's feeling very anxious. And I say that tongue in cheek, but I really do stress taking a compassionate approach, a non-judgmental approach to working with these folks, and I think that helps kind of get them. So when I'm there to do the assessment, my first job is to build rapport, build a bridge, build a connection with the person that actually has the issue, because that's the one. They're going to be the final determiner of how we move forward. And then obviously you need to look at the home and find out kind of what the extent of the issue is. And then agree on a scope, and then go from there.
And that leads me to my next question. So you're looking at this 6,000 square foot house. There's literally, you could start anywhere. Where do you start?
Well, we use the old maid service approach. We start upstairs, the farthest room from the stairs, and kind of work our way. And it's like I tell a lot of people that bring me in for an evaluation. They're like, where do I start? And it's actually just start somewhere. Start somewhere, make some progress. You'll start feeling a little bit of confidence. You feel like you start gaining back that little bit of control. That'll kind of spur you on to do more and more. And hopefully over time, if you're doing it by yourself, you'll be able to get
I have this picture of you sitting down with the client, for hours and hours and hours with every single thing you're going to haul down the stairs to throw away. I mean, isn't this part of the challenge? Is they don't want to get rid of things. Once you're there, does some of that anxiety go away, and they let you make those decisions?
It sometimes happens that way. Sometimes it's the other way. They'll come in, they're a ball of fire, ready to just get rid of everything. But then when we actually start the process and they start having to make those hard decisions, that's when things can kind of grind to a halt. And then we have a discussion. Like, for example, I had a lady, we were pretty far along in the process, but she had 13 plastic watering cans, all different colors, all different sizes. And, I said, Rebecca, do you think we really need 13 watering cans? And she's like, well, no, I guess not. I guess you're right. I said, how about 2? How about you just pick 2? And we'll have made serious progress. She's like, okay, all right, we'll do that. So we got rid of 11 watering cans, and that was a win.
That's a win. Well, you take it where you get it, right?
But no, typically we'll go in, we'll focus on the trash. getting rid of any obvious trash, hauling that off, or having a dumpster. And then we'll sort, and kind of what differentiates us is from some of the other people is we'll help sort between what they want to keep, what they want to donate. That's really where the rubber meets the road. And we'll have boxes and labels, and I've got my team around me, and they're kind of putting stuff in the boxes where they need to go. And then I'm kind of at that person's hip, helping, go through as it flows through, like, what are we going to do with this? What are we going to do with that? Making sure that no sentimental objects get caught up in the flow. Yeah. Nothing valuable gets thrown away accidentally. Important documents, papers, and things like that. So I really am there eyeballing as we're going through that sort.
And if you've got, say, a 3,500 square foot house, how much time does it take your team, or how many people would be involved besides yourself?
It's probably me and 3 people, and we're probably looking at about a week or so. Wow. Just depending on... And you're there to make sure no heirlooms or no valuable papers that they might need. And then also, if I do a good job establishing that bridge in the beginning, I want there to be continuity.
Right.
So they're not getting started the next morning wondering where I'm at. So I'm kind of that... I don't know.
Liaison,
lack of a better word. Yeah, just sort of the intermediary.
Yeah,
kind of, so to speak.
I can see why that's so important. We recently had to ask my mom. There were eight kids, and we had to request that she no longer drive. And it was one of the more traumatic. Yeah, it was one of the more traumatic things that we've done. Luckily, we were pretty creative. We gave her a new smartphone, and she's Ubering all over Southeast Houston.
Oh, well, that's great.
Yeah,
as long as she's mobile, that's what she's.
It's turned to be good. So, like when you first had these discussions, if I could see where it involves siblings or involves kids, and they're the ones usually calling you, or is it the person who's actually got the problem?
It's both. It surprised me in the beginning that a lot of the calls were coming directly from the people saying, "Hey, I've got this issue. I've got to and I've decided I need to take action." And usually it's when things have just gotten to a certain point where even they know that it's time. Like we had a lady that she was a research scientist, had cystic fibrosis, but she was able to work, and but she had like 5 cats in a 700 square foot condo, and they never went outside. Oh, wow. Not to get too gross, but you can just imagine there was probably 90 bags, those 13-gallon size kitchen bags full of old kitty litter. Wow. And then she had just been putting pads down on the kitchen floor. And again, not to gross anybody out, but just, the cats were just, you can imagine what something smells like when there's 5 cats living in there. They haven't been outside in a few years. And it just hit her one day. It's like, I just can no longer live like this. And so,
yeah. So if a family member identifies this issue with a parent, what steps do they take?
Well, they will generally call me and have a discussion about the situation and kind of give me an idea where the mindset is with their family member. And then again, it's a bridge building exercise, trying to get that person on the phone comfortable enough to allow me to come and speak with their family member. Let's say it's an older father. And then we'll set up that time to meet. And then really that initial assessment can go a lot of different directions. And a lot of times it's just answering questions. Hey, we're not here to just we're not here to just point us at a pile and we're going to take it away. We're not going to go through and make decisions about your stuff. You're going to be the person in charge. Always stress that.
Yeah.
You're the one making that final decision. Now, I may push back on you. I feel like that's my job. I may question, but it's never to be disrespectful. It's just, hey, we've got a goal here to make this house healthier, safer to live in, and ultimately happier.
So you may even have varying degrees of success. Like I imagine are there times where you walked out and, man, I wish we could have done a little more, but
yes, we've had not many, thank gosh, but a lot of times where the person that's being helped decides that, let's say we've gotten 75% of the way through and they're like, wow, I didn't, maybe we're making it look too easy.
Yeah.
But they're saying, gosh, we've really made a lot of progress here. It could be a financial thing. I think I can take it the rest of the way. Thank you so much, and we'll adjust the price, obviously, and work that out with them. But it is a little disappointing sometimes not being able to go through all the way, because that cleaning and sanitation at the end, I think, is so critical. We're using a bleach water solution. We're really killing a lot of bacteria. I mean, these places have not been cleaned in a long time. And so that's kind of what my end game is to get everything kind of out of the way so we can do that cleaning. I think that's what really, is a big contributor to making a healthier place to live in.
I can envision just how rewarding it is when you finish and you walk out of there. It's got to be really incredible.
It's great. The before and after pictures are pretty dramatic.
Yeah, I would love it. And so it's a really non-traditional business. How are people finding you? Is it just basically off the internet?
Off the internet, some referrals. And like doing this today with you, just trying to get the word out, because I can't afford a big huge builder on I-45, a billboard on I-45, so it's just trying to get the word out a little bit at a time. We're also a member of Greater Houston Builders Association, so I think we've been members now for a little over 4 months, but I'm kind of meeting a lot of people and introducing them to the concept of what we do there. As well, so it's a little bit of that. So
in terms of networking, tell me about your experience with networking and how long you've been doing that, and did you do it with the maid service as well?
Yeah, I did a BNI, which is probably a bad word.
I think I've heard of it.
They're a NIA is so much better.
If I'm not mistaken, they're a networking
awesome
group, right, that meets once a week?
They're just a little outfit, that's been doing that a while. No, but I started out with BNI. I was actually president of a chapter for a year. That was a good experience. But networking's always been an integral part of my approach to just marketing and promoting my business. I like getting out and meeting people face to face and eye to eye.
Sure.
I have, I'm of a certain generation. I haven't figured out the whole social media thing, but I'm here today.
That's right. You're doing well. I'm with you. We're the same genre. I have a hard time figuring out how to build out trust with that guy in Pakistan that's on LinkedIn.
There you go.
We're getting there.
Yeah.
But I'm not there yet.
Why is he asking you to to connect?
Yeah.
When he sells
what
bathroom soap.
What has your experience with Network in Action been?
It's been fantastic. There's can I name names?
Sure.
Debbie Dykes, head of the Conroe group, she's fantastic. Yeah. She's passed me several leads. The group is made up of a lot of like-minded, high-energy business professionals, which you look for.
Sure.
And I've gotten several jobs out of the group directly and had several referrals, and so it's just been nothing but positive.
Great. Yeah, Debbie's doing a great job up there in Conroe. And Conroe, it's so hard to believe for a native Houstonian who's lived here all his life. I keep hearing where Conroe's one of the fastest growing areas of the country.
I hear that too.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah.
It's crazy. So, Maury, you're bound to have a story or two to tell us. Just share with the audience a couple of crazy ones.
Okay. Well, there was this one time when we're in a house, and it's just me and another guy. And we're just going to town on this thing. And there's trash all over the living room, and that's kind of where we're working at. So he's got the garbage bag, and I'm just literally grabbing chunks of garbage and stuffing them in there. And then he could bring another bag, and we'd stuff that one. Well, the stuff was about 3 feet tall, so I was getting.
Are you wearing a hazmat suit or something?
We're wearing gloves and masks, and then it's jeans and whatever. But I'm getting closer to the floor, so I take the last bit that's going to show us the actual floor, some cheap carpeting underneath, and as I'm picking it up, this little itty bitty snake comes out of nowhere and starts doing this number.
Oh no!
He's like lashing out. And the last time I saw that was when I was growing up in Katy. We'd go down to the little creeks and the bayous, and we'd hunt water moccasins.
Yeah.
And they're extremely aggressive. And this thing, and he and I are kind of pretty big, burly guys, right? We are screaming like little schoolgirls. and first off, we just ran out of the house because we didn't know what to do. And then we went back in with some broom handles, and then it was gone.
Oh,
and we had to worry.
You think
about,
there's only one?
We had to worry about coming up against it again. Yeah. And then another time was we're at a job. There's a front room that's just piled high with furniture, and the doors are closed. And the little sweet lady that we're helping, she goes, my little kitten's lost in that room. Can you get the kitten out before you actually start taking stuff out? I don't want him to get hurt or whatever. I'm like, okay, fine, no problem. So we go in there. It's another partner of mine. He's even bigger than I am. big, huge, muscular guy. And we're in there, making our ways around, these little spaces and everything, looking for this little cat. And finally, I move this box or whatever, and he comes, just screaming out of nowhere, and he's skittering across the top of the box, and I have to grab him. I've got work gloves on, but they're just work gloves. But I've got to grab the cat, or else it's going to be another hour looking for this thing, right? I grab him, and he does like the alien thing. He just turns around and just goes like that, and just bites into my. And yes, the work glove is one of those synthetic things. It didn't protect at all. So he's there, and he's like a pit bull, and I'm like waving him around. She's like, "Don't hurt my kitty! Don't hurt my kitty!" So I'm like, slowly, pulling back off my
meat off your hand.
Yeah, and so that was. I wasn't sure if I needed to go in for a rabies shot.
So the next time you went to do a bid for a job, you're like, okay, how many rooms, how many kitchens, how many bathrooms, how many cats? Coming from a dog lover, people would pay extra for cats.
Oh my gosh. So I guess just one more. Me and my big burly companion are helping this man and wife, and boy, this woman is just browbeating her husband like literally to death. You can tell she's been screaming at this guy at the top of her lungs for like 35 years.
Oh my gosh.
He's cowed, his head's down. He's just, yes, honey, whatever. And we're kind of working through the job. We're taking stuff out and putting it on a trailer. And so every time we go out on the trailer, we hear her. The decibel level just goes up every time. So when we're in there, it's like, we did the blah, 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 blah. And then when we're out, she's like, God, I can't believe it. I mean, she's just really at the top of her lungs. We're actually starting to worry about the guy, his physical safety, right? So I made the mistake of taking up what I thought was a rag that was just behind a couch somewhere, and I was just using it to get up some liquid in the kitchen that had spilled. And she's like, "What are you doing with my good rag? My good dishcloth?" And I'm like, "Oh, I'm so sorry. I found it over here." She's like, I can't believe this. And she started to browbeat me, and I'm like, I'm sorry. I just can't let you talk to me that way. I'm going to go outside, let you cool down a little bit. Maybe we can regroup. So we go out. We're on the trailer. She goes to the next level on her husband over the dish towel. And we really start thinking, and she starts talking about us. It was mostly about him, but then she starts bringing us into the conversation. They're doing this, and they're not doing that, and everything else. We seriously thought she could be coming out with a gun next, with a shotgun, and he and I would be fleeing for our lives. And so anyway, there's a few little little gems.
You decided to leave the military and take on snakes and cats and crazy women.
The good thing about the military, though, and especially the Marine Corps, I think that's where I got my idea for the maid service, because they sure teach you how to clean in the Marine Corps.
Yeah.
So that was one skill that I learned that I was able to translate into the civilian life.
Wow, what a crazy journey. And I'm sure there's going to be lots of more stories in the future. Well, listen, tell us how we get hold of you, email and phone number.
Okay. Email is freedomhomeservices1@gmail.com. Phone number is 281-748-0055. I'm pretty much on my phone, a good portion of the day. So, I just invite anybody to have any questions and want to learn more. They can go to freedommaids.com/hoarding. That's a page I did a lot of research on, added a lot of content to. There's links to a lot of helpful resources there. Freedom Maids is just the name of the maid service that I had, and I've just kind of maintained that because that's where the hoarding information is. But pretty soon we're going to put everything under the umbrella of Freedom Home Services.
And this a veteran-owned business as well?
It's a veteran-owned business. I was in the Marine Corps for 3 years. Worked on radios and spent time overseas in Okinawa, and had some good times.
So you've got that service background. Well, we certainly appreciate your service to the country, and we appreciate
Thank
this
you
service
so
you
much.
provide. It's good to have you.
So
Thanks
much.
for driving down from Conroe.
Thanks a lot, Scott. Great to be here. Thanks so much.